Good evening once again, and welcome to this special edition of Release It. And of course, we're coming to you live from the GBN television studios. Of course, the program is aired also on K105 FM, our GBN's Facebook page and YouTube channel. First, I must apologize for the late start. We experienced some difficulties earlier, and we've been able to get it rectified, and so we're with you. So once again, we do apologize for that. All right, we hope you are with us. This evening, Dr. Pantry is with me as usual. Doc, good evening and welcome again.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Godfrey. It's a pleasure to be able to join with you in this beautiful program of Release It. And we have a lot to talk about tonight. So,
oh yes, yes, indeed, quite a bit. You know, Dr. Pantry, in our last Release It program before election, we delved into some information that was provided to us by a gentleman who is known for his writing, especially as it relates to, you know, doing election analysis. And since election, we've heard a number of analysis being done, you know, on the outcome of the election, as it relates to the NDC being victorious, and of course NNP losing after winning 2 consecutive 15-seat victory. And Mr. Keith Vento, good evening, Mr. Vento. You know, we're happy that you have granted us permission to use your material. We know you're listening, so we're happy for that. And of course, we'd be looking into, you know, what you've found, you know, post June 23rd election. One of the things, Dr. Pantry, that he said in the pre-election analysis was that in order for the NDC to be successful, there would have to be a seismic shift, and those were his exact words.
Yeah.
I remember that. You know, so that the NDC could be victorious. He did make mention of about 8 seats that the NNP should have won, and another 4 that were quite possible, which may or which should have resulted. That is, if things went the way that he anticipated, that would have given the NNP a 12-3 victory. However, that did not happen, and as he rightly said, there was a seismic shift, and of course, the NDC was victorious in the election. And again, from Release It, congratulations to them. They've already started working. So, Dr. Pancho, he has put forth his post-election analysis, and we had quite a nice discussion today on it. And you know, he has some figures that we can look at and you know, see you know, what he's saying regarding the victory for the NDC and the defeat of the New National Party. But in terms of the seismic shift, Dr. Pantry, that he spoke about, 9-6, do you think that was a seismic shift or just a shift?
Well, it was a seismic shift. The 9-6 is close. In fact, in terms of the aggregate votes, the National Democratic Congress got 31,000, less than 500, 31,000, about 200 and something. The New National Party got 29,000, about 600 votes. If you notice what separates them there, you know, less than 2,000 votes, right?
Yes,
okay?
Yes, indeed.
But what is significant is the closeness of some of the seats that the NNP won. Delma Thomas won her seat, but less than
about 70 votes.
Yes, less than 100 votes. Watch this. David Andrew was able to, you know, Emmeline Pierre, last election in 2018, won the St. Andrews Southeast by
about 1,100.
Yes, 1,100 votes, and he came less than 300 votes to taking that seat. Okay, that is seismic, and I think overall is the percentages that we're looking at, because NNP had a reduction of about 3 point something % in the aggregate votes, whereas the NDC realized maybe close to 12% increase. They moved from 22,000 to almost 32, so 9,000 plus votes. That is seismic.
Yes.
That is seismic.
Yes, indeed. So I think it's fair to say that Mr. Vento was on point.
Yes.
But there were two seats in particular, and we spoke about it. I felt that there was always the opportunity where the NDC may have been able to, get that deficit of with the 400 difference from 2018. I honestly did not see them getting the 800 plus. Well, in one seat, that's in the tongue of St. George, they came very close, but in the south, they didn't just come close. I mean, they were able to get rid of that deficit and I mean, almost an additional 1,000 votes.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, the two seats, I mean, it was what you call landslide. It was landslide for the Prime Minister, Honorable Deacon Mitchell, and Andy Williams. They won just landslide. That is what I mean. I think each of them got over 4,000 votes. And this is the very first time in the history of electioning that any one candidate has received more than 4,000 votes. Now, granted, those are the two largest constituencies.
Yes.
South St. George, 11,000, St. David's, about 9,000 plus. So those are the two largest. But if you notice, I mean, people really came out in those two constituencies. Really, I think the percentages were highest among all of the constituency in the south and again in St. David's.
Right. Now there's a school of thought that yes, there was a significant number of new votes that went to the NDC, and I'm speaking here as compared to 2018.
Yeah.
But also we saw the NNP losing some votes as well. Whether they went to the NDC or whether these people did not vote, I guess we may not know.
Yeah.
But do you think, aside from the votes that the NNP lost, let's suppose that the NNP was able to hold on to their votes from the previous year, the previous election, it could have been an extremely close election.
Yes, absolutely. I think it is St. George's Northwest, the Prime Minister. I mean, this time around, he lost votes, and you may ask, well, why? And I think it's just people couldn't see themselves voting for the opposition, and they just decided to stay home. They didn't want to vote, literally, for Dr. Mitchell. He lost. This is by far probably the lowest number of votes he has gotten in the last 3 election cycles, this time around. But we're talking about some close seats. The seat in St. John's, I think had they been able to hold on to, which
was I mean, the closest.
This was the closest, right? Less than 10 votes. That's why they say every vote does count. I mean, in close races like that, think about Carriacou that lost by 7 votes a couple years.
2003.
2003.
Yes.
And St. Andrews, when the NDC whitewashed, as it were, the NNP 11-4. Roland Bowler held on to his seat by less than 20 votes.
36.
36, right? You remember that one. Okay,
yes.
I was not around, but those memories kind of, it filled. So I agree with you. If the NNP was able to hold on to 32,000 votes, from what they got. Let's say they didn't increase the votes, got any from the 9,000 new registration. Had they been able to hold on and get the 32,000 or close to that, it would have been a very interesting election. It might have come down to 8-7 or 7-8. Somebody would have been, and I think, well, we'll probably get to that another time, but 8-7 is a much harder government to run than 9-6. You know, because so many things you're supposed to have a 2/3 majority, and the NDC currently does not even have 2/3.
Exactly.
You know, it's 10-5 would be 2/3. But it would have been a very interesting. I think, Godfrey, on a whole, though, I think that this election was very interesting.
It was.
Yes.
It was extremely interesting. But let's move on from that. And the last time we spoke on the program, it was the day before the new cabinet was sworn in.
Yes.
And of course, since then, a number of individuals have been named, you know, to head the various ministries. And I have a list here. Of course, the Prime Minister, Dickon Mitchell, he also has finance. He also has national security, home affairs, public administration.
Yes.
And his transition lead is Vincent Roberts.
Right.
We have Mr. Dennis Conwell, who is infrastructure, physical development, also utilities, transportation, civil aviation. Ms. Joseph, Attorney General, legal affairs, labor and consumer affairs. Mr. Philip Telesford, social, community development, housing and gender affairs. He's assisted in that ministry by Senator Gloria Thomas, Minister of State with responsibility for social development and gender affairs. All right. The baby in the meet, Ms. Karen James, she's the Minister for Climate Resilience, Environment and Energy, and her lead is Joyce Thomas Peters. And of course, a number of others, Mr. Tevin Andrew, of course, CARICOM Pediatric Affairs, your good friend, Mr. Andrew, David Andrew, Education, and he's assisted there by Mr. Ron Redhead, you know, with responsibility for youth and sports, and of course they'll be assisted or advised by Ms. Franca Alexis Bernardine. Agriculture under Mr. Lennox Andrews, of course, Mr. Adrian Thomas, he is the Minister of State there with responsibility for agriculture. But economic development planning, of course, the blue economy, ICT, creative economy and tourism all fall under Mr. Lennox Andrew. And of course, a new ministry, mobilization, implementation and transformation, Mr. Andy Williams. Dr. Pancho, I'm sure you've looked at them. What's your take on the distribution of the various portfolios?
Well, you missed one, health and religious affairs.
Yes, I missed that one. Yes.
The preacher.
Laco.
Laco, right, the preacher. The preacher.
My apologies, it was unintentional.
But that's all right. Listen, I said it, and I think we said it, and I said it also on this program. When you looked at the team that the NDC put together, they had a very it was not a team about experience. It was a team of qualified people who had the potential to be placed in several. You know, each person you could really, I mean, you look at the financial people. You look at David Andrew. David Andrew could have easily filled into social development. I mean, you know, his passion is for people. And Gloria Thomas, wealth of experience both in social service and in education. She could have filled either. Laco could have filled in as a consultant. You know, his role, former principal, could have fit into education. He could have fit into foreign affairs. You know, he has a voice. Well, you know, so here it is. I had the opportunity to meet with both. You know, my portfolio. I fall in social service, social development. So I had the opportunity to meet with Honorable Telesford today, and also Gloria Thomas. And you know, these are two brilliant people, young people, who both have a passion for Grenada, for young people, for the human potential and the human and the human resource. And I want to say that publicly, because you know, I knew them prior, and then having the opportunity to sit down with them again this morning and to talk strategy and to talk about the needs of social service and psychology and taking care of young people. So the question question you ask, really, let me quickly, because we probably come back to it again, is how do I see the team? How do I feel the team? I think the one that made me chuckle a little was Andy. The Honorable Andy Williams. You know, it's a new sort of ministry. It's not new to Grenada. During the revolutionary period, we had Selwyn Strong being the Minister for Mobilization, and so. But the piece that is really relevant, I think, is the transformation piece. If you looked at the NDC, that is what their go-to word was: transformation. Moving forward, transforming what we have, built upon what we have, but transform what there is and make what we didn't have become possible. And I believe he has a very strategic, if he takes this role seriously, and if he's guided right, we are going to see a lot of things transform, and we're going to see transformation. So his ministry, the novelty of it may make you chuckle, but when you look deep at the manifesto and what NDC as a party presented in the election campaigning, his role is really, really invaluable and important. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You know, someone asked me the question: what will he be mobilizing?
Right, that's it. I mean, maybe clean up campaign of the beach. Maybe you know, whatever it is. Whatever it is the government decides to do, he is going to be the man arms and the legs on the street mobilizing. You see, Godfrey,
and he is a busybody.
He is a busybody. He does. I mean, really and truly, you call him any hour, he's going to answer his phone. The thing here, Godfrey, we said it a couple of weeks ago, that a lot of times parliamentary representatives, they get bogged down with ministries, travel a lot, you understand, and so they neglect their constituency to the point where you just go to the office for a couple hours once a week. Okay, at the end of the month you probably serve directly your constituency for between 8 to 12 hours. Now that's really isn't enough for the 4,000 people who voted for you, plus the others that didn't vote for you, that also need you. So if you have someone mobilizing and doing a lot of footwork, you allow the other ministers time to breathe and be in the constituency. You understand? So I think his role is really important. He's going to have to learn maybe how it is done, but he has the gift and the skill, I believe, because he's a busybody. He's into everything. Well,
interestingly, he has, and I think this is very instructive. His transition leader is Larry Barry, who's also the general secretary of the party.
Yes.
So I think the combination there is excellent. I mean, Larry Barry is excellent when it comes to, you know, moving around, making things happen and getting things done. Okay. You know, so I think Larry Barry being the transition lead for Andy Williams is an excellent choice. If we continuing and we look at some of the other the transition leads in some of the other areas, with Mr. Lennox Andrew, we have Dr. Fletcher. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. Who it is.
I am not sure. But
Orlando Romaine, advisor with responsibility for ICT and the creative and blue economy.
Right.
He seemed to have been the man, well, the PR of the party.
Yes.
But he seemed to have been the one behind all the technical stuff and the social media and everything. So he seems to be very well versed in that.
Yes.
Because of course, I think it is all accepted that the social media aspect of the campaign, NDC really did a number on the NNP when it came to that. And if Orlando was the man behind that, well, clearly he has to be an expert in that field.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, we also missed Foreign Affairs. I'm just scrolling here.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Joseph Andal. Yes. He's been a campaigner a long time. That was his third attempt at it, and he finally was able to get through.
Well, you know, Honorable Andal is well spoken. Not only that, he does speak Spanish fluently.
Yes.
And many of the people with whom we work and deal with, they speak Spanish. The Cuban side of it, the Venezuelan side of it. So he's going to fit right therein, and do. I think he's going to really do a good job at foreign affairs. I saw other people also in the position, people who are well spoken, and gifted, but he is going to represent us well.
Right, and he's assisted by Raphael Joseph and Salian Bagwan Logi in the area of trade and export development.
Yes.
Now, very interesting. Finance, of course, the Prime Minister, Dickon Mitchell, and his lead there is Mr. Richard Duncan. I mean, I don't know you can get a better transition
than
Richard Duncan.
You can.
So, you have a situation here, whether or not, the Prime Minister is versed in the area of finance, I don't think he has anything to worry about.
Absolutely. Who doesn't want, whether you are in the United States or in the Caribbean, who doesn't want a figure in the person of Richard Duncan to be on your side? And Godfrey, I had an opportunity. Let me quickly add this. I had an opportunity to look at Richard's presentation on the narrative with Callistra, okay, where he proposed how to pay pension. And his way of explaining it, Godfrey, when I finished listening to it, I said, wow. And the Honorable Mitchell has promised to pay pension in 90 days, and I believe that we are going to get our pension. because Richard said, listen, Godfrey, Richard said that, listen, this is not, the pension will not increase. Maybe I'm an advocate now, so they probably have to hire me now, right?
yeah, Nigel is doing a number on you on Facebook. I think some people need to just drop it. We have a new government to run the country. And the government is not about who supported the winning party. The government is for every single Grenadian. And it's time we learn that. Let's drop it. So what if somebody supported a different party during the campaign? There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, I mean, Nigel, drop it.
But tell him also, Godfrey.
New government. So what if somebody
does anybody know
different party
for whom either you or myself will
people talk, but when you get into the poll booth, it's a different story. Look, folks, we have a country to build. We have a new government that's been elected. We have to play our part, work with them. Whether you're a supporter, listen, when an individual wins that seat and is representing in the parliament, that person is not representing the supporters, That person is representing the entire constituency.
But that's instructive, Godfrey, for us to be able to take a few minutes from tonight's program and just to educate people and to call people for who they are.
Yes, definitely.
It shows a lack of understanding of what democracy is all about. That's what it does. So let me quickly add, Godfrey, the way Richard said that we're not adding to the public debt, because what really and truly, when the court decided, it says that public servants like myself, I'm going to get a pension, Godfrey. Public servants are really actually owed the money, so the state is indebted to all public workers, public servants. So that debt exists. What he's saying is now we are going to take away. We are going to get an institution to give the government the money and remove the debt that they have for public workers. So it therefore means it's not going to increase it by 1 penny. It's just going to move the debt, because right now the government is indebted to me, okay, for my service. So let an institution fund it at a low interest rate and remove So free me up and give me my money, and it's the same debt. And when I listened to Richard explain that, I said, this is the way to buy into this thing. And I believe pension is going to be paid in 90 days.
Well, no, definitely. I do believe that, and I'm happy for the people. It's been a struggle. I mean, since 1983, people have been struggling. You've heard stories of people who have had to leave the public service and can barely make it. You know, so definitely, you know, I believe it will be, and I think it's a wonderful move, you know, and I trust that, of course, with Mr. Richard Duncan, I think he knows what he's about. And so even if PM don't have a clue, but again, PM have nothing to worry about. Richard Duncan is going to guide him and make this thing work. And that's important. That's important. And Nigel is still there saying, but Godfrey was criticizing the NDC. So what if he criticized the NDC, Nigel? Nigel, take it easy. So what if he criticized NDC? I have criticized NDC before. I have criticized all parties before. When I think they need criticism, I criticize. So there is no need for that, sir. All right.
Well, let me say, Godfrey. Godfrey, let me also say. Let me quickly add. I have not finished criticizing the NDC as a party, but it's my right.
Listen.
It's my right to do so.
Look, Nigel, if you think criticism end, joke you're making. Because there is always something to criticize. And what must be understood, if you criticize a party, listen, you can be a supporter of a party and criticize them, you know. Criticizing a party you support does not mean you don't like your party, you know. What it means is that you want your party to do the best it can. And that's why you criticize them. So criticizing, you had to stop that, Nigel. That's all I'm going to say. You had to stop that. I tell you what, let's take a short break and we're going to come right back. Stay with us, folks.
Busy during the week and have no time to go to the credit union to access your loans? Do you wish there were more days available to you? We can help. Our Loan Saturday is back by popular demand this and every Saturday at the GUT Credit Union Grandance Branch, Excel Plaza. Enjoy the peace of mind knowing that you have access to your credit union even on a weekend. So come on in and take advantage of our services every Saturday. GUT Credit Union. It's where you belong.
I'm a cool kid. You're a cool kid. We are cool kids. Are you a cool kid?
Try all the Fruit of Cool Kids flavors. It's a whole box of fun.
Are you looking for a summer program that is fun-filled, safe, and mentally stimulating for your child? Then Destined to Win Summer Explosion is just what the summer ordered. For ages 5 to 16, our program includes arts and craft, reading and mathematics, indoor and outdoor games, dancercise, karate, field trips, face painting, treasure hunting, and more. Destined to Win Summer Explosion runs July 11th to August 12th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. We're located on Tempe Main Road, next to Ned's Rental. Registration only $10. Spaces are limited, so call Mrs. Bartholomew on 403-8282, 405-8282, or 414-8282 to book today.
They are the few, the strong, the elite. Grenada, get ready as our sporting gladiators go for gold and glory at the World Championships. Follow every throw, stride, and jump from July 15th to the 24th. Capture the action daily on GBN Television. It's the World Championships. The dream continues.
James is going to win it.
The exciting, dramatic, humorous, and mind-captivating Lions All Mass is back in 2022. The Lions Club of St. George's and Spice Mass Corporation brings you an evening of comedy, fun, laughter, and pick-on at the Grenada Youth Center on Sunday, July 17th from 3 p.m. Tickets are available from any member of the St. George's Lions Club, Spice Mass Office, Grenadian Optical, Clear Vision, and Gittins Pharmacy. Grand Dance. Admission adults $25. Children 12 and under pay $12. Come relieve your stress through laughter and be prepared to be entertained by local calypso and soca artists. This is an evening you don't want to miss. The Lions and Spice Mass Corporation All Mass, Sunday, July 17th. Grenada Youth Center, 3 p.m. See you there.
Welcome back, folks. We're happy to have you. Of course, our viewers on the Facebook page and YouTube channel, we're happy to have you. Keep the comments coming. We're following all the comments, and of course, a little later on, we're going to take some of them as well. A little later, we'll also open our telephone lines so we can have people calling and make their contribution to the program as well. Dr. Panchu, the NDC, of course, they're putting things in place. As Dr. Tessa Sensei said earlier in an interview, it's early days. Yeah. We agree. So they now have to relook things, and put things in place and get the ball rolling. You rightly said it's a group of young people who are intelligent, talented, and I do believe they have the ability. But let me put this out there. Running a campaign and winning an election is one thing, Doc. Mm-hmm. Managing a country is a different thing. When you look at the team, and of course the Prime Minister has, he has started really fiery. Yeah. He's announced that the docked salaries will be paid at the end of July, and of course, he's in no uncertain terms getting ready to have the discussions to get this whole pension issue going, among other things. There are a number of projects that were ongoing, which in my opinion were good projects. For example, the Grenville sidewalk construction, that to me an excellent project. There was some back and forth about the airport expansion, and I'm sure all of these things will be looked at, mm-hmm. And an analysis will be done, and the new government will, make the necessary, adjustments or whatever they need to do as time progresses. Let's go to the NNP a bit. So they have 6 seats in Parliament, and someone said to me earlier in the week, Dr. Panchu, if you think Keith Mitchell not in a bad way, right? But if you think Keith Mitchell bad as a leader, then you should have to deal with him when he's in opposition. We know the gentleman. We've seen him in opposition before, and we know that he's a force to reckon with. He has said, of course, he will support the government on projects that they believe are in the best interest of the country. But of course, they will provide opposition, to things that, they have a different opinion on. But how do you perceive the parliamentary debates that we are anticipating? The opposition is strong. Of course, led by Keith Mitchell. We have Peter David, both very experienced in the Parliament. Also, Dr. Clarice Modest-Kerwin, very experienced. Emmeline Pear, very experienced. Kate, just one term basically. So she's fairly new, So, and of course, Delma Thomas, fairly new as well, but they've had the experience. How do you see the parliamentary debates going forward? Coming from two terms of no opposition.
Well, Grenada is going to. I think we have, as a people, we have longed for the voice of dissent, voice in the opposition. We rallied with Tobias for a little bit, and he made sense several times. There's no question. But his was the lone voice. This time there are 6 voices to lead in the opposition. I agree with that person who made that remark to you about the ability of Dr. Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell is cunning, he is versed, he has a lot of experience, and as a result, I think he's going to use it well. we said last week, and I want to sound it again, providing opposition is the way democracy works. However, if someone is going to just oppose anything and everything only because you're in opposition, it defeats the very purpose of the way democracy works. But I expect there to be fiery debates. I mean, Emmeline Pierre is a really great debater, and you talk about Peter being an equally very forceful debater. And of course, Dr. Mitchell, I think Dr. Mitchell is going to use this opportunity to lead the opposition in a very forceful way. I, however, listened to him, and he talks about being ready and ready to relinquish the leadership of the opposition, and I think that makes a lot of sense, Godfrey. I think it makes a lot of sense.
It does.
As soon as the NNP as a party can muster enough courage and lick the wounds and have the convention to elect a new leader, I think they are going to elect a leader that can add essence. And of course, the leader that they're going to elect has to be among the people who won the seats, because you can't have a leader of the opposition who hasn't won his or her seat. So they're going to find someone from there to lead that discussion.
Right. Yes, indeed. So let me address some of our Facebook friends again. And
okay.
Some of them are saying that I said NDC could not win the election. I did not see it. And that was based on the statistics that we discussed. And I think a lot of people felt that way. I did not see it, and I am not ashamed to say that I did not see. I believe they may have won a couple of seats, but I did not think they were going to win this time around, but they did, and congratulations.
Yeah.
So those of you who think I'm eating my words, well, I had lunch pretty early today, so maybe I want something to eat on now. All right, Alroy Philip. Yeah. So yes, you are right. I did say I didn't see NDC win the election, but they did. I also remember saying that they could not be ruled out because they won before. And sometimes we need to go back and just don't take things in isolation. Yeah. But of course, congratulations again to the NDC. They've done a marvelous job, and it paid off for them. All right, and of course to the NDC supporters as well.
But Godfrey, remember that we dealt a lot with the statistics. I mean, we went back to 2000. At 2003, look at the statistics, 2003, 2008, 2013, 2018. So for the last 5 election cycles, we looked at the data, we looked at the statistics.
And we said so.
And so we were going up the statistics. And even Peter Wickham, Peter was here on television with us. And Peter said the same thing that Vento said, that for the NDC to win, it had to be like a miracle. It had to be a seismic shift. And we experienced that. But no, I don't even think that many people predicted that. Because I tell you this, Godfrey, I don't think the NNP was ready to lose or thought they were going to lose. I don't know. But I want to do a speculation here. I don't think the ministers cleared out the desks. I am just believing that they left their stuff there because they were thinking that they were going to go back there on the 24th.
Well, I listened. Yes. I think it was the one of the rallies. I listened and I followed them on social media and so. And I recall the then Prime Minister saying that they're in a good place. They're in a good place, and the science is showing them in a good place. Yeah. So I think that they felt that they were in a good place. And you see, based on when you look at the figures from 2018, look, I would not fault anyone for thinking that the NDC may not have been able to win. As I said, I did not see it. And I have no apology saying that. I did not see it, and that's based on the statistics. But it happened.
Yeah.
It happened. And this is not something that is strange for the NDC. In 1999, they lost all 15 seats.
Yeah.
In 2003, they lost by 6 votes.
6 votes. Just one constituency.
They lost by 6 votes. So, I don't understand why some people are making a big fuss about that. I mean, as somebody said the last time, the NDC win already. Why is only one? I mean, they win.
Godfrey, let's go back a little.
Yes, indeed.
To the very first thing that in his inaugural speech, in his inauguration, the Prime Minister announced that he was returning, reinstating, or paying back, well, not pay back, but giving all the doc salaries. So he was going to reinstate the doc salaries. Now, that's a bold move. That's a very, very bold move. I know Brian Grimes is kind of really, really happy for that, right?
Well, he said so.
Yeah, right. Our friend Brian. And the thing about it is that that's a very bold move. And I think we went into the election, and one of our I think it's Brian who is asking, we went into that election cycle this time with many public workers, mostly teachers and others, some others, having their salaries docked, and they were hurt.
Yes, they were. I mean, it was.
So Brian asked, and I want to put Brian on blast, because Brian asked whether or not the government at that time was wicked, and I replied was, I don't know if wicked is the correct word, but I think insensitive was the probably word, because it's not just the 300 or 500 people; it is their spouse, their parents, their children. Yeah. So it's a lot. It amounts to thousands of votes that the NNP lost there. Yeah.
Oh, definitely so. But I think, and not only it is sensitive for the Prime Minister to make that move, but I think, he would score some serious political points, set him up nicely. Because when you touch people like that, I mean, this sort of personal touch, they remember. It goes deep. And so, that takes me to the next question I want to ask you, Dr. Panchu. The gentleman that we is his material that we are looking at.
Right.
He asked a question, and he says he's closing his document with a hypothetical question. Can the NDC achieve a 15-0 victory over the NNP in the next general election? And he says that's some food for thought. It would be interesting to hear what Nigel would have to say and what our friend Brian Grimes would have to say on that. What do you think, Dr. Panchu?
This is going to be a hard one. It's going to be a hard one. I think the tone of this government, of the current NDC, is going to set in place how the next election cycle evolves. Yes. I really do think.
Well,
so.
Of course.
Godfrey, listen. Grenadians want action. Let me tell you something. If the NDC does not deliver on its promises here, the NNP is going to win again. I mean, this is how the history has it. So performing really well is the variable that is going to allow the NDC to stay in power in the next election.
Definitely. A lot depends on what they do. I mean, if we go back to 2008, I mean, the people gave them an excellent mandate, 11-4, better than what they got now.
Yeah. And
somewhere along the line, it got messed up.
Yeah.
Of course, given it was a different group of people and all of that.
Yeah.
But everything lies on what happens between now and I would say with the first 3 years in office. And if the NDC can keep on the path that they are now, I do believe they can definitely probably win more seats. I don't know about 15. But they might, because you have to remember they came very close in some of the seats that the NMP won. Like you said, in St. Andrew Northwest, 70 votes. And all of that. But bear in mind, just as how we had an almost 15% shift, it can happen again. It happened before. So, and a lot depends on us as a people. Let me just say this, and this is a very serious issue I want to raise here. A lot of times, we tend to think that whatever happens in the country in terms of development and where the country goes rests in the hands of the people we elected to serve in the parliament. Wrong. They do have their role and they do have their responsibility. But as a people, we have a role to play. And a lot of times, many of us who are placed in positions to serve as part of the building process, we mess up. And by the time it gets to the leaders, it's already way too far to be fixed. And that goes as a stain. And it stays there, and it affects the government. Because people remember these things. I heard someone said to me in a particular constituency that they have absolutely no problem with the representative, and that was then. But there was a particular individual who was working in the office of the representative that was making the representative look bad, and people were angry about it. So you see, there are a lot of times when, as a people, sometimes the things that we do, it can have an effect on those who lead us. Mind you, I am not here trying to protect our leaders, because we have elected them to serve and to guide the developmental process. So they must be responsible. They have to take responsibility for a lot of things that are happening. But we as a people, we have to play our role as well in ensuring that we do what we are supposed to do. So that everything, it's like a domino effect, things fall into place. So if we don't do what we're supposed to do, we can be sometimes setting up our government or the party that we love for a defeat. But definitely, whether or not the NDC will win the next election rests heavily on what happens within the next 3 or so years, I would think. But they do have people who are quite capable. They do have some transition leads, people who are experienced. For example, in education, you have Miss Franca Bernardine. She served under the NDC before as Minister of Education, and she did a good job. You have, we did mention Mr. Richard Duncan. Excellent. So there are a number of people there to help guide the process. And, once things are done in the best interest of the people, then I don't know, if you have a formula that's working, why change it? So I think this is something that we'd have to wait to see. So we have one final break to take. Let's take that break now. When we come back, we're going to open the telephone lines and engage our listeners on the phone. So stay with us, folks. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
All right.
They are the few, the strong, the elite. Grenada, get ready as our sporting gladiators go for gold and glory at the World Championships. Follow every throw, stride and jump from July 15th to the 24th. Capture the action daily on GBN Television. It's the World Championships. The dream continues.
James is going to win it.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Release It, and oh boy, we have so much interesting comments on. Let's see if we can take a couple. We're gonna start with our good friend Brian Grimes. Someone was asking, let me see, people are, and they're having their own little program on the Facebook chat as well.
I like this one, Godfrey. Who do you think, when Dr. Mitchell decides, okay, well, when the NNP has its convention and a new leader is elected, because he said he's not going to vie for leadership,
right?
Okay, it therefore means that you have 5 other people. Who is the most likely? I like that question. Who is the most likely?
But is there any rule which says that the political leader of the party has to be a member of parliament?
No, it doesn't. In fact, it doesn't.
Exactly.
So the political leader, as in the time when Dr. Mitchell was the political leader, but H.A. Blaze was the prime minister.
Yes.
Okay. So it is possible for the NNP to choose a leader, a political leader in the next convention
that is not a member of parliament.
That is not a member of parliament. However, the leader of the opposition has to come from the elected.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So there are there are 5 other people. So who do you think is most likely to succeed him as the leader of the opposition?
And you're talking about within that the elected members.
The elected members. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a caller on the line. Maybe the caller may tell us. Caller, good evening. Welcome to Release It.
Yeah.
Hello, good night.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Good night to Dr. Pancho and good night to Godfrey.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Mostly tonight is a very educating program, well balanced, with all your fairness. I want to just add something based when all you talk about coming for the debate in Parliament, when Parliament opened, where the experience with the Prime Minister and the opposition side and the ruling party. A few of them, Dr. Kitty is a very experienced politician, and Peter David, Emily Pierre. But if it's one thing, like I don't know if they don't trip off when they go to debate, if you really fall back to the campaigning, how they behave, right? If you check on Deacon with the speech, how he lay out the program, Dr. Kit was way far, and he had the experience, but he didn't compare with Deacon. He choices. Dr. Kit is the really, he had to really balance himself, compete with Deacon, you know what I mean? But he just showing that quality. When he go in Parliament, it's like he just, somebody will just trip off. So you have to get back yourself in line and do it best, because they kind of way ahead against them. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much. But bear in mind, Dr. Keith Mitchell said that his stay as leader of the opposition is very short. He doesn't intend to hold that position. Following the party's next convention. So I don't think. Yeah. So for the benefit of those of us listening on radio, the telephone number to get in is 440-1252. Yeah, remember that. So those of you listening on the radio, if you want to call, it's 440-1252, and you can get to make your contribution. Let's go back to the telephone. Caller, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm calling to get on the program.
Sure, you are. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I want to provoke your thoughts.
Sure.
You mentioned that mobilization was a new program. As a matter of fact, a new ministry. But I want to let you know that during the revolution, we had Selwyn Strand, who was the Minister of Mobilization. Also, I'd like to let you know that during the swearing in of the of the opposition, we had Dr. Mitchell, who was the past political leader. He, as a matter of fact, had a lot of homage paid to him by the people who attended the swearing in. So I don't think Dr. Mitchell is going to give up the leadership of the party easily. And also, I believe that the other members of parliament would be afraid to challenge him at the convention. So we're going to have Dr. Mitchell for a very long time as opposition leader. And I don't think people should write him off.
Wow.
Because he will rise again. He is a political strategist. So we expect a lot of things from him in the future. What I say there doesn't mean that I support him. I'm an independent. But I'm just looking at the picture. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Well, first, we did say that there was a Ministry of Mobilization during the PRG. We said so. And secondly, Dr. Mitchell was the one who said on more than one occasion that this is his last period. He said at the last rally and at the swearing in, he said he will not be holding the position again, after the party's convention. So if he goes back on his word, that would be to his detriment. I don't think he will. I believe he has gotten to a point where I think he wants to go. Yeah. He said, not leaving the party, but he would be around to offer whatever support he can. But as it relates to leadership, he's definitely not going to be vying for that anymore. We have another caller on the line. Caller, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
And welcome to the program. What I want to say is that Mr. Deacon Mitchell and his party and his representatives, we got to say, this was the Lord's will and his way. We accept it with pleasure. But they made promises, and the nation people are looking forward for them to keep promises. When you made promises, you must keep it. Because people look forward to see what you say you mean and what you mean you say. And if they didn't able to keep these promises they make, which they made before, one must think about promises making. If you know you weren't able to keep promises, don't dare make it beforehand, because the people are going to look forward. And if they didn't see these promises being kept, there is where they will lose prestige in the people. So I wish to God that they keep those promises that they made. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Well, I mean, Dr. Pachi, you want to comment on this issue of promises and,
Well, I think, not really, I think I want to go back to the next caller, the previous caller. The previous caller talked about he sees Dr. Mitchell as someone who may not keep his word necessarily. I think that's the essence of what he's saying. I don't know. I don't think there is any virtue in flip-flopping on a promise that you have made to the nation and to yourself that this is going to be a very short stint of being the leader of the opposition. I think it's, in all fairness, Dr. Mitchell is on his way out politically in terms of leadership in this country. And I don't see him contesting another election. And I think it's a prime time to give whether any one of the other 5 people an opportunity to be the leader of the opposition. They do not necessarily have to be the political leader of the party at the next convention, but at least by the next convention, it should be the leadership of the opposition should be given to another person. And I cannot see any benefit in Dr. Mitchell staying on.
Well, no, I mean, definitely not. I mean, it would not do him any good. But I mean, when you look, there are a number of factors you can consider as it relates to Dr. Keith Mitchell. And I don't see, when you consider everything, what else does he need to prove? I don't think he needs to prove anything else. The longest serving prime minister, longest serving parliamentarian probably in the region. I don't know if there's anything else to prove. So staying on or going back on his word will definitely not help him and will not help the party. Because I do believe there were those who felt that, and you heard it, that he led for long enough and that it's time for him to leave. Not that that is their decision, because the fact is Dr. Mitchell did not get up and decide he's leader. He was voted and he was political leader, so he became prime minister.
Absolutely.
So, but that I guess that is totally up to him and his team, and so we see what happens. Let's go back to the telephone. Caller, good evening.
Good afternoon. Good evening, Dr. Panchu and Godfrey.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, I think I support one of the callers that says that Dr. Mitchell would not give up the fight. He cannot afford. You have to look at history. You see, maximum leaders do not give up power. They normally have to be ousted. Look what is happening in the British Parliament now. No, but let me put things in context. I think most times we take disjointed situations. I'm not saying you, in terms of understanding how things unfold. In terms of cooperating with the government on the opposition side, we have never seen that. Remember when Ms. Winifred Jones was the opposition leader, Dr. Mitchell used up her position in the first debate when they got into power, when the NDC came the government. Dr. Mitchell and your friend Bizinski, agreed with me a few months, some time ago, that Dr. Mitchell takes 2.5 days making his contribution. That's why they have to change the thing in Parliament. In fact, he talks about legacy, but he also caused the shortest debate in Parliament after he came in 95. So we have it. So when we talk about flip-flop, he flip-flops all the time. One of the things I'm really satisfied with this new government is that they have put systems in place, a system in place, where you cannot undermine them as we did in 2008. And if they keep that up, that's the end of him. Trust me, that's the end of him. And the thing about it is that if those other people in the opposition are strong enough, they'll say they're coup. And that is normal. I mean, I say a coup. I don't mean, violence and so on. I mean a coup by it. Like what is happening in other places. You don't want to go, do the democratic process, vote them out in terms of the leadership. But finally, I think in terms of the issue of Ministry of Mobilization, it was not only under the revolution there was a Ministry of Mobilization. Even under the NNP, there was a Minister of Mobilization, and that was Mr. Justin White's son. You got to remember that. Some people tend to forget. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Well, look, like I said, if Dr. Mitchell feels that he wants to stay, it is to his detriment. Yes. So I am not going to argue that. He says he's going to go, and so be it. If he stays, he's going to only be doing himself,
but Godfrey,
an injustice.
Our last caller made a very intelligent, well articulated point about maximum leaders. You have to listen between the lines from the swearing-in ceremony of Dr. Mitchell. Here is a statement that he used that fits into the into the narrative, as it were, with our last caller, when he said that no one will push the NNP to have the convention, you know, and that it will be done decently and in order, and you know, what he is saying there, that he is going to go out in his own time, you know. If you listen to between the lines, you realize that he is saying, I will tell you when I want to end my sting as the leader of the opposition. And I think what we're saying is that it is not going to work well for him. It's going to be his own detriment the longer he continues to stay as leader of the opposition.
Well, of course. I mean, and that's where it, you know, starts and ends. Simple. So I am not going to labor on this. You know, I mean, it's clear. You choose to stay. One of the reasons why, you know, people, you know, voted the way they did was because of that. That was one, maybe not the main reason, but it was clearly one of the reasons. We heard it a lot.
Yeah.
Even, you know, prior to you know, the election season, we heard it a lot. So you know, it's to his detriment. So I'm not going to labor that clearly. I think we have another caller on the line. Caller, good evening.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good evening, sir.
You hearing me very loud and clear?
Yes, we're hearing you well.
Yeah, well, I feel that Dr. Kit Mitchell handbagged himself and the party by not paying the people their money. The next thing is, when I look at the different convention, when you have the different rallies, when you have the rally with the people, all different areas come to, I do look at that. When they have the rally in one place, one state, one place, I look at the crowd, the two different crowd, NDC and NNP, I compare them. That is why I feel NDC would have won the election. That is my contribution.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much. You know, well, I mean, we've heard numerous reasons, you know, but of course, one thing is clear, that close to 33,000 people wanted change.
Yes.
And they voted for change. And there is nothing that anyone can do about that.
That's the truth.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth, yeah.
So even if Tronic Tracker think that we defended Kita NNP, I know how we're doing that. But Tronic Tracker think that we defended NNP. What you defend? We have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, good evening. I listened to a news bulletin from GBN tonight, and the former Prime Minister, that's Mr. Timothy Thomas, he said that the new NEC should pay the pension within 100 days. But I'm asking myself, because in 2008 I voted for them, and under his leadership, the pension thing never came up. So why now he's suggesting to the new Prime Minister that it should be paid? I want to hear comments on your views on that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pancho.
Well, if you listen, I applaud the NDC government for taking that bold step to want to pay pension. I think it's a bold move. It's an expensive move. You know, when you think of the investment up front, but then it's going to continue to be, it's going to be a continued investment of finding X amount of money to pay monthly pension. So it's an expensive move. I think NNP was too cautious on the pension issue. And NDC has decided that they have a plan, and they're going to put the plan in action, led by the great Richard Duncan, and I am hoping that it works out well, because even as a public servant myself, I am entitled to pension.
You are?
Yes. All my years of service have been with government.
Yes.
So I'm not new to...
Unlike me.
Yes.
Unlike me. I just want to tell Neema, and I hope I get your name is correct. If I am not pronouncing it correct, my apologies. But let me just let you know, my dear, that I don't think there's anyone who has criticized Dr. Keith Mitchell and the NNP more than me.
Yeah.
I've also criticized the NDC. So, for your information, I am not afraid that GBN will fire me. I can guarantee you GBN will not, because GBN, stupid and mark on GBN face. Okay, never stupid and mark on GBN face, so they won't fire me. You know, one thing I can guarantee, when I speak responsible. I don't say things I don't know. That's why no politician ever comes after me with a lawsuit. All right, because stupid and mark on my face. All right, do we have another caller on the line? Yeah, caller, good evening.
Yeah, Godfrey, good evening.
How are you doing?
Godfrey, Dr. Mitchell is not a normal person. In a Caribbean country where a leader take that heat, he would just step aside. He would take the blame, accept the responsibility of the loss, and step aside. Dr. Mitchell is not normal. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Well, Dr. Pantry, you're the clinical psychologist here. I would want you to chime in on that. I don't know how, unless you have a colleague that we're not aware of.
No, Godfrey, I tell you this. One of the most notable phrases, adage that I learned in my very first political science class at university was, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think Dr. Mitchell has the personality of being a maximum leader. And it is important for us to understand, people, that when you taste power, or already if you have a personality or propensity to like and be addicted to power, it becomes a problem when you lose and or when it is time for you to say, I quit. And there is no question that Dr. Mitchell has a personality that is likened to someone like that. I am making a psychological statement here tonight. So it is, very interesting here. Let me just take one observation here from a caller, from one of the online people. And she asked, well, Dr. Mitchell lost, but why are we focusing on him tonight? Godfrey, it is very pertinent, young lady, Karen, I'll call your name, because Dr. Mitchell is the leader of the opposition. So he is in focus. He is not obliterated. He has lost a party's election, but he continues to serve the people. And he has 5 more years in which to serve the constituency of St. George's Northwest.
He was elected.
People voted him. So he has to be in the forefront. After the Prime Minister, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, we have to talk about the leader of the opposition. So please do not be blinded by the fact that we are talking about Dr. Mitchell, whereas we should spend time talking about the NDC and the program for the next 5 years. We have enough time to talk about both, and we are going to talk about both.
Oh, definitely, definitely. We have a call on the line. Caller, good evening.
Wonderful. Good evening, Godfrey.
Yes, good evening.
Dr. Pancher, good evening. I hope you won't reveal my identity, because you recognize the voice. But, I was really surprised to see this program on TV tonight, and it is wonderful. And this goes to a lack of GBN to be able to publish a program guide to show what's coming on TV. But I think you guys are a really wonderful program, and I think most people are forgetting that Dr. Keith Mitchell said before the last election that this may be his last term. But then he ran again as leader for this election. I think this is time for him to step aside and say, hey, listen, I want Miss Kate Mitchell, young lady name, Kate, to be the leader of the party, and I'll be there to support her. I'm gonna serve the term that my people have elected me to be the parliamentary representative, but I'm not going to be leader. Let Miss Kate Lewis be the leader, and I can mold her and advise her and watch her go through the system so NNP can get a real leader in the next election. Thank you very much, guys. I think you guys did a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, caller. Thank you very much indeed. He's suggesting that Kate Lewis.
Yeah.
And you talk. Well, I mean, the truth is, I believe, you know, from what we've seen happen, the general population. I think you know what has happened. You know, has qualified it. People are going for youth.
Well, I tell you this, Godfrey, if I had any speculation as who is going to be the next leader of the political leader of the new National Party, I think it's going to be a woman. I think after Dick and Mitchell, we are going to have a woman prime minister.
Well, you never know. You never know. You never know. You never know. We've never had a woman prime minister in Grenada. And let me, Neema on my case tonight. Neema say first time Godfrey program have so much viewership. Neema, for your information, if you looked at the last program, we had 13.5 thousand. So clearly you're missing something, you know. I think the NDC yellow kind of bar in your eye, so you're not seeing clearly. You understand? So you need to clear your eyes because you clearly don't know what's going on. So.
I think that's our home girl, you know. Somebody, it has to be somebody who knows us.
Apparently so. But why do people get the feeling that well, we are supposed to have NNP. I don't know if you support NNP. I have no, I don't have any alignment with any political party.
Yeah.
Election day, I voted.
Yeah.
No one will know who I voted for. So I don't know why people feel. You know what is strange, you know, Dr. Pancho, is that all of the people who are commenting and making those statements about us on the Facebook page, they think it is their right, so they can say that. Yeah. However, they do not think it is our right to express how we feel.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I have people saying that to me all the time. You know, as a professional, you shouldn't. I have an opinion as a citizen of Grenada.
But of course,
I do. Don't try to take that from me.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
Why you want to have one? You know, I go to the grocery store and buy bread and butter just like you. I pay taxes just like you. So I have a right to say what I feel. A lot of people saying, no, Kate said she's NDC, have to come over. Well, I tell you this. Some very funny things.
We have a call on the line. Caller, good evening.
Caller. Yeah,
good night.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yeah, I want to ask a question, right? You know, and the question I want to ask, you know, Carriacou and Petit is the deciding seat to form the government. So I just want to know, you know, how many votes that NDC win by. So back to you in St. George, I'll listen on the air.
I didn't quite, thank you, caller, but is he asking how many votes NDC won by in Carriacou?
Yes, well, Carriacou is divided into Carriacou and PD Martinique. And of course, if we look at the breakdown of the polling divisions, the PDs, we're going to see exactly how many votes he got in PD Martinique. But he won safely by over 300 votes. The vote count between him and Kindra was over 300, so he won handsomely.
Yes, indeed. I don't have the exact numbers. I am yet to see, I saw some of them, but I'm yet to see the actual breakdown of all the various
the final. It's somewhere there, and usually it's posted. And so, you know, maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll have the final figures. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. We have a call on the line. Caller, good evening.
Godfrey and Dr. Pansu. There's a couple of issues I want to raise. In terms of, you know, we talk about the people who are going to be in government and the opposition, but we haven't been talking about who might be and what kind of speaker or president of the Senate we may have this time. Because I think it's important who those people are, because my experience of Dr. Mitchell is that he doesn't accept any kind of authority. In fact, Delma, Delma Thomas' late father told me that one time, he used to be my boss. This man cannot afford anybody that going to direct him. And I remember Honorable George Maguire, when he asked Dr. Mitchell to take back a statement that he couldn't substantiate, and Mr. Maguire ordered him out. What he did, he shouted at Mr. Maguire, yes, they're paying you to do that. They're paying you to do that. So he have not had the kind of thing where he could comply. And then when you look at the people who was elected as Speaker and President in the Senate, particularly in the House of Representatives, maybe not so much the Senate, it's people that he could have always, those speakers, would acquiesce him when, look at the thing that used to happen, whether it was repair or with the other people, with even Peter David when he was on the opposition. He's not a cooperative man, that's the problem. And the thing about it is that it's not helping us in terms of helping us to have orderly transition into, what you call it, succession plan. Dr. Mitchell is a very disruptive individual. And he will disrupt. Don't forget, when he lost the election in 2008, or even in 1990, he never stopped campaigning, and he can start, and he already started. And if this current government doesn't understand that, hell for them. He always set the agenda. One final thing, Godfrey. In terms of people are saying that if the new government keep the promise, that would be good. But also the momentum. In 2008, the people were doing something that they started towards the end of the NMP thing, like coming out and do community development stuff. And what Dr. Mitchell and his group, condemned that. And the NDC has to acquiesce, went in the direction of not encouraging that. So if we encourage that kind of thing where people voluntarily come, it's going to be good because...
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Yes.
That's a good question, Godfrey. The president of the Senate, this is, this is going to have, I think the government is going to look for a seasoned person who is well versed in etiquette and protocols, etc., etc., and to be able to stand up. I don't think it's necessarily the fact that Dr. Mitchell is that forceful opposition leader. It's just that I think the government is going to want to be very circumspect in who they are going to select as president of the Senate.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah. We have another caller. Good evening, caller.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pancho. As a psychologist, you should be able to relate to my comments. Facial expression, body language. These two, and I see that opposition leader suffered that long before and during the build-up to the campaign and after. And let me just end by saying here, in his swearing-in speech or talk or whatever, he had to read from the book. And everyone who was sworn in had to say, "So help me God." And if you go back to the tape and look to see how he said, "So help me God," and swing his head to a side, that alone will tell you, as a caller had said before, this gentleman is sick. And I am telling you, in the last 2 years, you could call me a dreamer if you wish, I have seen him on 4 occasions. And to every occasion I see him in my dream, he has a problem. He had a problem in Canada. He had a problem with some Canadian people, with a school in St. Paul. And he had a problem with the police. He didn't want to see the police. Himself and I, in one dream, was walking St. Paul's Road together. And when we got to the St. Paul's police station, he asked me to take the side of the police station because he was ducking away from the police. This guy has a problem. Time for him to step down and go. Let me say, good riddance, my boy.
Thank you very much, caller.
Very interesting. I will not say it like you, sir. Good riddance, because we cannot underestimate the contribution to the political landscape and the political life of Grenada that was made by Dr. Keith Mitchell. He does have a legacy. I mean, 3 times 15-0 leading your party for 38 years of unbroken election to the House of Representatives. That is monumental. So saying good riddance is sort of watering down history, the political history of Grenada. Thank you may be a more appropriate word to say to Dr. Mitchell and anyone who has taken the role to serve our country. I think thank you is always, unless you go down in demise, by wrongdoing, etc. But a thank you to public officers and people who serve in the Parliament of Grenada, I think is more worthy than good riddance.
Dr. Pancho, I think what some people need to understand, and despite how you feel about Dr. Mitchell or any politician, or anybody else for that matter, they've contributed, and no one person can just get up and decide that they're going to lead. Our present Prime Minister didn't just get up and decide he wanted to lead. He was voted as political leader of the NDC, and he was voted into office. He won the seat in St. David, and he's become the Prime Minister. So we have to understand. Look, and I made that point before. When we speak of people is not just who you support or who you are in agreement with. We are all people, and we all have a say. We have different opinions on varying issues, and we all have a right to express how we feel. Now, as one Calypsonian said, the late Mighty Shadow, a man have a right to like who we like and to hate who we don't like. So why do some people feel that people who support Dr. Mitchell, they're not people, they are people too. They are people too. So people is not just who you support. People are everybody. Maybe what happened during Dr. Mitchell's reign as Prime Minister, maybe it did not reach some people. But there were others it reached. So there are people who are going to like him. There are people who would probably, fight for him. I'm sure there are people who are going to fight for Deacon Mitchell because they love him. And everybody have their own reason for liking different people. So we should not behave as if, Dr. Mitchell never did anything good for Grenada. That would be a very unfair statement. And I know that might result in some of our friends saying that we are defending him and defending the NLP, but that's the bottom line. We have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
How are you all doing?
Good.
And good evening to the listening and viewing audience on Facebook. You just said a while ago that they nominated Deacon for leader in the party. But there's others who were saying that he parachuted. He came from nowhere. I'm glad to know that he was voted in. But you all started the program very well. You all was talking about the statistics, which I want to comment a bit on. I will be fast there. You all also talk about the zoning in and the different portfolio and ministries. I will comment on that also. But you all mentioned earlier about Dr. Mitchell. In 2018, in the St. George's Northwest constituency, there were 4,171 people registered there. Dr. Mitchell got 2,551. In this election, which is 2022, Dr. Mitchell, there was 4,534 there registered. He now gets 2,211. So he gets a little less. Don't you all see that Dr. Mitchell is losing popularity in his own constituency? You all don't think so, gentlemen?
Well, caller, we alluded to that already. I did say that this time around in the last 3 election cycles, between 2013, 18, and now 2022, this is his least number of votes, aggregate votes that he got in election. And it means now Jonathan got 908 something, maybe around 900 votes. He is the one who has gotten in the last 4 election cycles the most number of votes against Dr. Mitchell, but it still was far less than a great performance. It therefore means, caller, that many of the people who voted for Dr. Mitchell, and last time he got over 2,600 votes, 2006, this time about 2,100. So he got about 400 to 500 less votes this time than he did in 2018. I agree with you. It means that either the people did not want to vote Laco and said that I'm not voting him and I am not confident enough or comfortable enough to go out and vote for Dr. Mitchell. But that's what the statistics say. It says that he lost more votes this year than this election cycle than any time in his political career.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, losing popularity is one thing, but this is something that can shift. It can shift. I mean, you can lose popularity maybe in this cycle, in the next cycle, because you see, a lot depends too on what is being offered. And clearly the NDC offered something better than what the NNP was offering this time around. And so a lot of the seats where the NNP previously held, they lost it, and those that they won, the NDC was able to narrow the margin. So clearly, it's not just a case where Dr. Mitchell lost popularity. The NNP lost popularity. Hence the reason they lost the election. And of course, that can change. In 2008, NDC gained popularity. In 2013, they lost it. So this is something that can go back and forth. We have a final call because time is quickly going. Caller, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Very good.
Okay, personal to both families. I just want to ask something, because it seems to me this is the trend. Every time NDC wins an election, there seems to be put on trial. If they do good, we will get rid of them in the next election. But then NNP win and you don't hear this kind of sentiment. I want to know what about NDC as opposed to NNP that people tend to think that you get it there, we're watching at you. But when NNP win, you don't find out. I mean, that's my question.
Okay, thank you, caller. Dr. Pancho?
Well, I tell you, for the last 2 election cycles, caller, remember 2013, 2018, the NDC won 0. So really and truly, there was no opposition to say that we were looking at you. This time, there is a clear mandate by the people of Grenada that there are 6 people forming the opposition with the very knowledgeable and vociferous and vibrant Dr. Keith Mitchell as the leader of the opposition. So this time around, people are going to say that there is an opposition, and there is an opposition. So in the last 2 election cycles, we didn't have any. The NDC was very weak and feeble. There is no question about that. And they were searching around, and they found someone that the Grenadian population really fell in love with, and they voted for him. And that's the result we have now.
Of course, definitely. Well, let me just before we wrap, Deborah Strachan says, Kit pay me.
I wonder how much you got, boy.
Deborah Strachan, let me tell you something. If Kit pay me, it's my damn money. Only sorry I didn't get more. So
that's what comes in Peter lose the election in 2008, you know.
It's my money and it's that. Dr. Pancho, that's all the time we have. Folks, we thank you so very much. Neema, thank you. Definitely we will be starting our carnival programming in the coming week.
Yes.
So we will definitely be doing that. Yeah, we in fact, today we finalized a number of the carnival programs that we will be doing. So definitely we have some interesting ones that we will be rolling out in the coming week. So thank you very much. All our Facebook fans, we thank you all very much for your comments, your contribution. And of course, let it be known that we have a new Prime Minister and we will support him because we love our country. Dr. Pancho, any final words?
Well, I continue to wish the new party, the new government, success because, as I said last week, and I'm going to say it again this week, if the NDC delivers for the party and the country, Grenada benefits and all of us benefit.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Dr. Pancho, thank you very much. Thank you all, folks. Next week we'll be back with another edition of Release It. Do take care and have a good night. Tomorrow on K105 FM, it will be our open line edition where you get to call and, of course, share with us what's on your mind. So until then, do have a good night. Take good care. All the best. We're gone.